where it says John Doe, isn't it?
Right.
So you can't do that in the system preference pane. However,
Yeah.
you can do it in a program that comes with the Mac that is for the power user. And your tech at work might know this himself. You're going to look in Applications, and you're going to look in the Utilities folder. The Utilities folder contains all these really great obscure tools.
This will be on my OS X Jaguar.
This will be on Jaguar. Yep.
On the CD, right?
Nope, it's on the. So you have installed it. It's on your computer, believe it or not.
Okay.
Applications, Utilities, everybody has it.
Right.
It's called the NetInfo Manager.
NetInfo
Manager.
Now, you understand that I'm sitting here in an office at lunchtime talking to you.
So you don't have your computer
so
in front of you.
I'm not sitting in. Oh, Leo, do I have to tell you that I work in a Windows world
I
and
know.
retreat to my
don't let
basement
anybody,
office for my Mac?
Don't let anybody see you write this down, okay?
Okay. No. My IT guys here, as far as they're concerned, whatever's good for you is fine with them.
Well, you could tell them we're doing some heavy-duty Unix lifting here. This is Unix we're talking about.
Right.
Now, in Unix, you could do all this on the command line. In fact, you can even do this in Panther and Jaguar on the command line.
Really?
But I'm going to show you a way that's not command line. Because what Apple did was they took all these Unix things and they bundled them into a program called NetInfo Manager. It lets you modify a lot of things that Unix commands could do in a graphical user interface.
Right.
And it also changes some of the ways it works. So Unix people go, ooh, what is this? What you're going to do is you can change all the user information very easily in NetInfo Manager. You're going to go into NetInfo Manager. You'll see right there in the middle pane the word users. You're going to click that. There'll be a list of the users. A lot more users than you're used to.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've seen a whole bunch of very strange named people with
every
vowels
every
in their
program,
names.
yeah, you know, like the Apache has a user. All of the so don't worry about that. Just find John Doe.
Right.
And then you'll see a list of properties in the pane below. All the different properties.
Right.
And one of them is the actual name, the one that you want to change, the short name.
Right.
And all you have to do now, in order to do this, you have to click this unlock to make changes and enter in the administrator password. Then you'll double-click the name in the values, and you can change it to anything you want. You save it, you're done.
Really?
It's that simple.
What a simple piece of cake.
Piece of cake. But nobody ever looks in this NetInfo Manager, and there's good reason. Be careful because you can muck up things in here.
Yeah.
But if you just change that, nothing else will be.
Are you going to put that on the show notes?
I already did. I'm fast.
I guess you are.
I type the speed of light.
So,
No,
yeah,
you
it's already
don't.
in there.
You type, if you're really good, about 100 words a minute.
I don't type that fast.
Right.
I have people to do that. So NetInfo Manager is the main thing to keep in your mind. Once you get to that, it's in the Utilities folder. You'll see it's very easy.
Okay.
All right?
If there's anything else, I'll email back to your
Please do.
wonderful Jenny.
Please do, and Jenny will forward it to me, and I'll be sure to give you any details you need.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful talking to you guys. I mean, as a guy who, as my daughter said, you know how old your father is, to my son at the time? He's old enough to remember steam trains and no TV. And I mean, the computers to me are just absolutely wonderful. And frankly, I've had a Mac since 1991. And they've always done very well by me.
Well, you're doing great, and I'm thrilled that you want to do it, you know, and getting in there. And the truth is, sometimes people think computers are for young people. They're for us, too. And one of the reasons I like doing this show is to show a little gray hair, just to show that the gray hairs aren't all out of it here. We know some things.
Since I lost a great deal of it on top, messages from my home planet have been much clearer.
Hey, thanks for the call.
Okay,
Take care, John. Good
Bye.
to talk to you. Coming up after the break, we'll hear from one of Canada's top avant-garde filmmakers about how he uses computers to create art. Stay tuned. More on this when Call for Help continues. Stay right here.
Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I think something is happening.
Very appropriate avant-garde effect there, because our next guest is one of Canada's foremost avant-garde filmmakers, originally trained as a philosopher and a computer programmer. He later became interested in experimental filmmaking, first using optical tools, now using digital tools. Our Bruce Elder, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you very
Real
much
honor
for
to
having me
meet
here.
you.
Thank you very much.
So I think we were just talking before about great avant-garde artists like John Cage, the choreographer Merce Cunningham, who are using digital tools. They don't. I think some artists would say, "Oh, computers that's not art, that's science. But you don't find that the case.
I think the idea of the two cultures is something that we really do have to get over. I think it will be very important for the artists of the future to be quite at home with mathematical concepts, with ideas from computer programming. In my own work, I do use the standard tools and think they're really extraordinary. You know, use Premiere, use After Effects, use Pro Tools, use Sound 4, use the range of tools that are available. Why would I, when tools are available that could do what I'm dreaming of, what I'm imagining? Why would I want to go through all the pain of writing my own programs? But very often, the tools cannot do what we imagine. They cannot realize what we imagine, and it becomes very important that I think for artists to get involved in developing tools. They can get involved in various ways. They can do as I've done and just sit down and write the computer programs themselves. Takes a little bit of learning, but not a heck of a lot. Or they can work in collaboration, in teams with engineers and scientists, and a number of artists are in town are doing that. And I think it's extraordinarily important that artists get involved with tool building. Yeah. Otherwise, the tools will remain too conventional, too inside.
It makes sense because, I mean, you know, the great Italian artists ground their own paints. They learned about pigment. I mean, that was the science of their age. In order to make their paintings, they needed to understand that.
And, you know, Leonardo and Michelangelo and so on were people with...
They were scientists.
Absolutely. And I think that we really need to resurrect the idea of the artist as scientist, a person who is at home in the two fields.
Well, it's very natural for musicians, I think, because musicians, music and math seem to mesh very nicely. I think a lot of painters seem to feel, oh, I'm left-brained. I don't right-brained, or whatever it is, vice versa. They feel like they're alienated by math and science. But you don't think that that's necessarily the
I think it's a belief that this idea
it's a belief only.
That there is a visual person who is inarticulate, who is in touch with feelings but can't deal with abstract concepts, can't deal with patterns. That's an idea that's had its day. It arose in the Romantic period, right. And it really has had its day. Most of the artists it's been my privilege, because I am also a critic, to have gotten to know some extraordinarily important artists, people like Stan Brakhage, and gotten to know them really very, very well. And I really have to say, there are people whose thinking processes are really formidable. This idea of the artist as a person who cannot deal with abstract ideas, I think that's had its day.
Good. You write your own code, your C++ code to do these effects on the film. You started, though, doing it optically?
That's correct. And from the beginning, film was, or moving images were, for me, less a storytelling medium, less a documentary medium than a medium that is very, very close to rather rudimentary visual processes that go on in our brain.
You're trying to get into our cerebral cortex?
Yeah, it really strikes me that film was born out of an effort to capture something that resembles dream. You know, the secret of dreams are revealed to Sigmund Freud in exactly the same year as the cinema was born in 1895. And I think there really is this sense that cinema was meant to be something that is very close, if not to dreams, then to thought processes, visual thought processes that are really very rudimentary. And of course, these ideas about what imagery is like in its rudimentary stages of formation in the imagination, what it's like before we have the fleshed out, resolved image.
Before we tell a story about it.
And before we impose stories on it. But I also think that there is in our consciousness a fully fleshed out, resolved, detailed mental representation. There are wobbly, uncertain, indefinite, hazy, blurry sorts of images.
Jungian archetypes?
Before
that even?
I think that these are images that lie very, very close to the actual physical basis of consciousness itself.
The physiology.
Yeah, and that are shaken by the instability of the constant changes and fluxings that go on.
So when you write a C++ program and it makes an image, when do you know that that's the image you were going for? Does it strike you?
One never feels that you get exactly what you want, but the hope is that you're pushing closer and closer and closer to this sense. I mean, and I really do think it's a very vague sense that one has of something that precedes the images that we become aware of. We can't talk about these, we can't draw them.
Because it's pre-verbal.
Yeah, and it's even pre-imagistic, I think. It's there before images are formed, but we have a sense of these energies of consciousness, and they're giving rise to some kind of vague sort of mental representation.
If we want to see some of these films, where can we see them?
My films are shown at the sometimes at Cinematheque Ontario. There's another group in town, Loop Collective, that has shown my films.
I want to see them on the web. Are you going to put them on the web?
I really like the experience of going into a darkened theater, of immobilizing yourself, of sitting there in the dark, of even that seems to take us back into a kind of primitive world.
We're in the cave.
And it's something wonderful happens in a movie theater that, in my view, still doesn't happen when I sit in front of a computer screen and look at AVI's moves or whatever.
Well, you're going to have to go to a cave near you to see Bruce Elder's work. He's involved in the film community on many levels, as a lecturer, an author, as a critic, and of course as a filmmaker. Look for his films around the world and read more about our Bruce Elder at our show notes, callforhelptv.com. Now, for our quiz question of the day, and it's film related, although I don't know if it's limbic, I think it's a little bit more frontal lobe. George Lucas based his character Han Solo on which one of his friends? Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, Oliver Stone, or the Cyberwalker? Get to the website. I think the Wookiee is based on you, Andy. It's the furry toes that gives it away. Go to the website, give us the answer. We'll talk about it when Call for Help continues.
Welcome back to Call for Help. Time for our Mac tip of the day. Here's how to create your own keyboard shortcuts on your Mac. Open up System Preferences and then click on Keyboard and Mouse. And then at the bottom on the left, you'll have a little plus sign. Click that sign, and then you can enter your own shortcuts.
Wow.
Very fun.
Wow.
And now we have another caller. We have Kelly on the line from Medina, Ohio.
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Hi, good.
Welcome.
I have a 365 dual workstation.
Okay.
Windows 2000 Professional.
Yes.
I try to, when I go to Windows, I try to get the username and password. I got it from eBay, the computer.
Right.
And I cannot delete the screen name, password, and...
So you can't get into it?
Nope.
Because they didn't give you the password?
Nope. He said there was no username and password with the computer when I got it.
Well, he lied to you.
Okay.
So unless you entered it at some point, but I don't think you did that. So, but that's the problem with eBay sometimes. Now, did it come with Windows discs?
No, it did not.
Well, the guy's kind of a rip-off artist.
Right.
It should have come with the Windows discs. That's part of the license agreement. If you're going to sell the computer, the Windows that were installed on discs come with it. You can't keep them. He can't keep them because then it's piracy, right?
Right.
So if you had the Windows discs, my advice would be to reinstall Windows on top of that and start over, you know?
I don't have anything like that.
Is there any way she can crack into the Windows 2000 password? Well, there is, but it's kind of advanced, Kelly. Generally what we tell people, I mean, the Windows 2000 password is secure. It's a Windows 2000, NT, and XP, those are secure passwords. Unlike in Windows 98, you'd press escape and it would just keep on going.
Right.
But in Windows 2000, those are actually good passwords. They can be cracked, but you have to have some password cracking tools. One way to do it, for instance, is to use a Linux boot CD, boot to that, and modify the password file, the .sam file, and clear the passwords out that way. There are programs like LoftCrack that will go through and find that password. These are hacker tools, basically, Kelly, for getting in, and that's frankly the only way to do it. My recommendation for you, unless you want to go to all that trouble, is see if you can go back to eBay, see if you can find an inexpensive copy of a Windows install disk. It doesn't have to be 2000. In fact, I wouldn't recommend 2000 these days because Microsoft has end of line to that product by the end of this year.
Okay.
They're not going to support it anymore, which is ironic because more than half of all the business computers in the world run Windows 2000.
And I have a Windows 98 disk. Will that work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, you said it's a dual processor machine?
Right.
The only problem with doing Windows 98 is it only see one processor.
Oh,
You
wow.
have to use Windows 2000 or XP Professional to see both processors.
Okay.
What I would probably do is say to the guy, look, it doesn't have a password. You owe me a Windows disk anyway. Send me the Windows install disk and I'm going to report you to Microsoft.
Okay.
And see if you could get, or whatever, maybe you might be a little more conciliatory, but see if you can get a disk out of him.
Okay.
You need a Windows install disk. That's really the best way to do it. And you could use Windows 98. You format the drive and install a new version of Windows on top of it, and then you enter your own password.
Okay.
But he's given you a computer you cannot get into because there's a password there.
Okay.
You might try some obvious ones like blank, just hit return. You might, I don't know.
Administrator password.
Administrator,
Password,
sometimes
password.
password. But frankly, I think he owes you some disks. All right, Kelly?
All right, thanks.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was one thing Microsoft did right, frankly, in Windows 2000 and Windows XP is they made the passwords work. Unfortunately, if you don't know the passwords, that's not good. Coming up next, we're going to show you how to make any site accessible, even beautiful, even if it's about concrete. We'll get Amber's concrete advice on today's web workshop coming up right after the break. Stay right here.
You know who used to call you the November Man? Because after you passed through, nothing lived.
The November Man.
Computers are online. I'm gonna start loading software.
Yeah. What's that from? Is that sneakers? What is that? You probably never thought about engraving concrete. I know I haven't, except maybe with a face plant. But if you're bored with the bland gray blocks, today's web workshop site will get you thinking. And before the visitors start checking him out online, Steve wants some tips to add a little spark to his concrete remodeling site. Time for Amber's web workshop.
Yes, when I got this email from Steve, I knew it would be quite a challenge to help him out a little bit with this.
His
So-
site looks like concrete.
It does look like concrete. So it's called Cutting Edge Impressions, and he's based in the Toronto area. And what he does is basically helps to engrave concrete and dye concrete and to do tiles around your pool or for your driveway
cool.
or sidewalk or anything. So it's really bland concrete. I think it's like a third less than actually doing anything like getting bricks laid down
tiles or whatever,
tiles
yeah.
or those types of things. So it's going to be, we're actually going to go through his site. It's only one page, the home page, and then he has a gallery of some of the work that he's done.
Okay.
So a couple of the questions that he wants answered is one is how to make the gallery look better, and he also wants to know how to make jazz the site up a little bit and use free software to help make it better as
Great.
well. So we're going to start at the top, and I'm just going to give him a few little tips, and I'm using this new little tablet here. So we'll check this out. So. As we can see on the homepage here, one of my first suggestions in terms of making the site better is to actually, do you see how he's using some text here that is a little bit difficult to
I can't read it, yeah.
I know. So, we talk a lot about design conventions, and one convention is to keep it really simple. Keep text really simple. Just use an Arial text or Times New Roman or something like that, because this is definitely too hard to read.
He's going for the engraved look, but boy, it makes it difficult.
Exactly, and I understand what he's trying to do here, but he should definitely try to, just use plain text to talk a little bit more about what he does. So if we scroll down the page a little bit, and then here he has some images, some pictures of stuff that he does. So these are really beautiful, as you can see.
Well, it's kind of hard to see. I mean,
yeah, it's a little bit hard to see.
Are they thumbnails? Can you zoom in?
No, you can't. And this is what we're going to talk about as well as the actual gallery. So this is some of the work that he's done. This is a driveway here.
Cool, yeah.
It does look cool, and this looks neat, and this looks kind of like mosaic tiles as well.
I'd sure like to see all those thumbnails be the same size and link to full-size images.
Exactly. So what we'll do here is we'll scroll back to the top, and you can see at the top left, this is the gallery of photos that he has. So we'll click on that.
That's wasted space up there.
That's wasted space for sure. So we're going to go.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't do any critiquing.
I know. You're learning a lot, Leo.
I am. I'm getting better thanks to you.
Exactly. So actually, let's try. There's another link. That link doesn't seem to be working so well. So we'll go down here and click on the gallery of photos, so we can check out all the different photos that he has. Let's see.
It's working. You're tapping it.
Is it working? Yeah, it's a little bit slow here.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so here's the gallery, and just like you said, they're all different size, so they're different size thumbnails. And so you can see some of these, like this is a really big picture, smaller picture, and you actually can't click on them, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is I've actually done a free file on a program called JAlbum, if you remember that. And what it is it allows you to generate an HTML album of all your favorite pictures with thumbnails. So you could, these would
and
all...
some of these have drop shadows, some of them don't.
Exactly, they're
Let's
all
have some
different. So there should be some consistency. So basically what JAlbum Generator would allow him to do is to make them, say if he likes this size right here, he could take this size, he can make them all that size, and they're also thumbnails. So you click on them, and then you can see a bigger image of that thumbnail. Another thing that he wants to do is he wants to show his before and afters of some of the work that he's done, so he could do that within JAlbum. So really for his site, that's a piece of software that he could use that's free, and that would really, that's what he wants to do in his site, is basically just show off his work and then put contact information and hope that people email him or call him.
He could do it. JAlbum comes with a bunch of designs, but he could do a design that looks like concrete if he wanted to.
He could definitely do that. I was going to mention to you a little bit, he was talking about how to make the site look better, and I do like that, it's nice to have that concrete look in the background where it's gray and, it has that feel to it, but I would also recommend one thing people don't think a lot about on websites when they're first designing is white space.
Right.
And I would always say, when in doubt, use white. Use white as much as you possibly can. So if you're not a really good designer and you don't have a lot of experience and you're trying to do this for free on your own, if you want a really clean look, it actually looks better if you use white and then just use black text and then maybe one accent color. So he could choose maybe gray as his accent color and do a nice header or something like that. So that would help his site a little bit.
I'd like to see an image right at the front there of his work right away.
Oh, for sure. So we're just going to, basically this is the kind of the main real estate of the site, this part right here. So what I would suggest he did is actually take this link here and move it down so that a gallery link is right here.
Right.
So he has that link there. And then also just have, change this text here so it's easier to read. Just use an Arial or something like that. And then also he has too much text here. People tend to scan. They don't necessarily read a website. So he can do bullets maybe and say, why would people want to come to him and do this to their concrete?
It's also too wide. There are studies shown that wide sentences are harder to read than narrow sentences.
Exactly. So what he could do on this page, for example, is he could take this page. He could put, maybe an image here on the left, and then he could have some bullets here.
That would help
and then he would have a link on the bottom that says, view more pictures, before and after pictures in my gallery right here on the left. And then you could have contact information maybe down here as well, but also kind of in a global nav up at the top, on the top right. So if you clean the page up a little bit, less text, add some links, and then fix up the gallery with JAlbum. He's using free software actually to do this page right now, so it wouldn't cost him anything. Then I think the site would be a lot better.
Great.
Yes.
And I want to see some more concrete art. You don't call it cement, that's the stuff that holds the aggregate together. I don't know why I'm talking about that. If you're in the market for a web workshop, you can get one free.
Yes.
Email Amber.
Yeah, Amber at callforhelptv.com.
That's the way to do it. We promise she will be nice and try not to use red pen. Or
I just
maybe
did.
blue pen next time. We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. Stay here.
Stand by to face the black, Craig. Yeah.
Welcome back to Call for Help. Time for our Gmail tip of the day. Here's how to check your spelling in Gmail. All you have to do is open up your message and then click on the check spelling link on the top right, and then it will check your spelling. We have Mikey is from the wee side, but I think it's supposed to be west side.
The wee side.
side.
Wee, all the way home.
And now we have another caller. We have Vic on the webcam from Thorhild, Alberta.
Hello, Vic, on the webcam from Thorhild, Alberta. How are you today?
Fine, thanks, Leo.
My magic
How are
isn't
you?
working. What can I do for you today?
Well, on a previous program, you recommended a program called GAG.
Gag.
So I downloaded it
Yes.
and installed it.
Yes.
And
it made you gag. You
and
hate
I
it.
used it, and
Yeah.
when it came to removing it, I couldn't remove it.
Oh.
Putting FDisk.
Well, there is an uninstall feature in the setup of GAG. So when you first, there he is. When you first, well, a couple of things. You install GAG by making a floppy disk. So you could put the floppy disk and boot to the floppy disk and go into setup and uninstall. But all the uninstall does is write a new master boot record. What GAG is a boot manager, folks. So it allows you to have multiple operating systems on one computer. And I like it because you can add it anytime after the fact. And it's smart, and it'll look and it'll see all the different operating systems. It'll build a menu for you. But I also like it, Vic, because it's very easy to get rid of. It doesn't change the operating system at all. All it does is it changes the master boot record. The master boot record is the first thing your computer looks at. After it starts the boot up process, it goes through the power on self-test. It loads in the BIOS code. It starts running that. And the BIOS says, we've got a hard drive. Here's where you go on the hard drive. Go there and load whatever's there. That's the master boot record. That then loads another small program, a bootloader program, that says, okay, I know what to do next. Go to there and run the operating system. So you can fix that master boot record either by uninstalling GAG or by using FDisk. Do you know about FDisk?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if you make a DOS disk and you put FDisk on it, the command is FDisk /MBR. And what that does is it writes a new master boot record. That will also eliminate GAG. Because GAG makes no other changes to your system, it'll put it right back where it was. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
I'm sorry I stuck you with something you didn't like. What was it about GAG you didn't like?
I just used it for a while. It was great, and then I decided, well, I didn't want to. I was only using one operating system.
Then
so
you don't
I
need it.
thought, well,
Right.
Didn't need it.
Yeah.
Really.
If you go into the setup screen, you'll see there's an uninstall. So let me show you, folks. This is GAG. It's a graphical boot manager. The reason it's called GAG is it's written. It's in Spanish for graphical boot manager. It's a Spanish acronym. GAG, GAG in Spanish. And I admit it's not the best name, but it's a wonderful program. If you look here, you see key S. So when you see the screen, Vic, you press the S key, and that'll go into the setup screen. And the setup screen then will allow you to uninstall right here. You can remove GAG, or like I said, you can merely write the master boot record all over again. I think it's a very nice, simple program. It's open source. And I keep it around in case I mess up somehow and I mess up my master boot record. I could put that on there. Okay?
Very good. Thank you very much.
FDisk /FixMBR. Did I say? I didn't say fix MBR. I said MBR. It's FDisk /FixMBR. Now I better check. FDisk. And, it's not even on here, so you need a DOS disk. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's /FixMBR. The old brain's not working like it used to. Thanks for the call, Vic. Appreciate it. Take care. Managing your money, never easy. Sometimes, we all just want to take those bank statements, crumple them up and throw them in the trash. Burn them. That's what I do. Then I don't know what I got. Amber's got a better way. A free file that proves that budgeting doesn't have to be such a burden. Windows?
Yes, this is a Windows free file. It's called Ace Money Lite, and it's the little brother to Ace Money, which is a paid version of the software.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I have not.
Okay, so it's pretty easy to use, pretty straightforward. The best part to use is actually the part that's just basically like a budgeting spreadsheet. So you can go in, and there's already categories that they've...
we got to switch over to see Amber's computer. Is it plugged in? Oh, it's plugged in.
All right, so
Press that
just take a
key.
sec.
Mikey's going to press a special key.
So they've already created categories for you within Ace Money Light, so that you can also add new categories and those types of things, so expenses like your electricity and those types of things. So we'll just go in and check out some of the categories that they've added. So you have, your car wash expense, gasoline. So if we go in here, you see income and expense. What we want to do is we want to click on that. And so gasoline, let's say for the month our budget is, I don't know, I probably
$1 million.
Yeah, that's what it seems like
It does
sometimes.
seem like that. Say $150.
Yeah, $150 for gasoline. So that's an expense for 1 month. And you can put a little comment in here as well. So that's kind of a neat thing. And then you'd click OK. And then you can see at the bottom what it's doing. It's tallying up your income and your expenses. And then it gives a total that you have left over.
Exactly what I don't want to know.
That's the part that I don't want to know
Does it have
either.
negative numbers for leftover? Probably does.
It does have negative numbers left over. So you can go in, there's bank charges, cable television. So we can go in and add that in. Let's say the budget limit. I think my cable cost me $75.
Plus, of course, $1.49 for our show.
Yes, which is well worth it for sure. And then you click OK, and then just automatically adds it up at the bottom. So what I really like about this program is that for someone, I'm really not the best person with my finances, I have to say. So this is a really simple program that you can use. That all you have to do is you don't have to create your own Excel spreadsheet. You can just go in and you can add in your income, your expenses.
A lot of these programs, there's too much typing.
There's too much typing, and this is an easy way to do it. What is usually a grueling task, seeing how much money you have left over at the end of the month.
Has it helped you?
You know what? It hasn't really helped me very much because I live with 2 other women and we shop too much.
Oh, it's their fault, is it?
It's their fault.
Yes, blame them. Blame the roommates.
It's Jenna's fault.
Jenna, why are you making poor Amber spend so much money?
I know. She owes me big time.
Oh, it's all her fault.
Yeah, so we'll put a link to this on our website and people can test it out and it's free.
Maybe Jenna should try this. Coming up, Andy's got a primer on RSS. It stands for Really Simple Syndication, but it's really just a way for you to get the kind of information you want quickly and easily from the web. But before we do that, let's take a look at our daily quiz question. I like this one, and I do not know the answer. George Lucas based his character Han Solo on which friend? Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, Oliver Stone, or our own Cyberwalker? Get to the website, give us the answer. We'll talk about it when Call for Help continues. Welcome back to Call for Help. Before the break, we asked you who George Lucas based Han Solo on. It's not Coppola, because he's a big, heavy guy. Spielberg's got a beard. I think it's got to be Oliver Stone. That would be my guess. According to the Internet Movie Database, it was Francis Ford Coppola.
He was thinner.
He was younger,
He was
thinner.
younger and thinner.
I once worked with Francis Ford Coppola. He wore the same green suit for like a week. Yeah.
Nice.
But very talented, brilliant man, makes some fine wine.
He does, doesn't he?
Yes. It's a whole new business for him.
Stayed up in Napa.
Yeah, that's right, up by me.
Yeah.
So RSS is really changing the face of the internet, but I think it's confusing. I mean, maybe a lot of people haven't even heard of it, and when you say really simple syndication, they go, huh? So Andy's going to show you how you can take advantage of RSS to get more information faster from the internet.
Yeah, the secret to RSS, if you've never sort of experienced it before, is imagine as your own personal newspaper. I mean, the web is a huge resource of tons of information all over the place. But I mean, going to every single website that is your favorites and checking it out is a really time-consuming process. So why not create a place that you can look at all that pieces of information that you like to check regularly?
One window with everything in it.
Right. So in order to do that, you need a client, an RSS client.
It's not a browser necessarily. It's just a program that can read these things.
It can read these things because what the RSS is actually a feed.
Does every site have an RSS feed?
Well, a lot of them do these days, but not everyone does. No, that's not true. In fact, I'm going to show you how to find the feeds on a particular website.
Okay, good. Okay.
And in fact, blogs are a good place to go to get
Almost
RSS
all of
feeds.
them have RSS
They
feeds.
do, exactly. So where do we get a client, a program that will read this? Well, you know what? Let's try Mozilla.
You may already have one.
You may already have one. Thunderbird is the email reader, which I don't use for email from the guys that make Firefox. But I like it as an RSS client. And here it is right here. As you can see...
So you're not using it for email, you're just using it for
Just using it for blogging.
Okay.
So what happens is when you add an RSS feed, you actually get each piece of information that's been delivered from this site through RSS. And you can actually browse it one at a time. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of security stuff in here. I'm using it right now to basically keep tabs on computer security issues as I write the book that I'm writing. Now, so the secret to doing this, though, is to actually go out and get the URL or the address of the RSS feed to add it to the client.
Now, how do we do that?
Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to open up here a, let's see, let's go to Spyware Warrior. This is a blog about the latest spyware issues. Now, what you're going to be looking for is a link that says RSS or XML. So let's go, and sometimes you have to look really, really carefully because it's not always very, very obvious. In this particular case, it's all the way down at the bottom on the right-hand side.
Frequently where it is.
And there
it is.
RSS 2.0. And you can actually, again, because blogs also have comments, you can separately get a feed for all the comments.
Many blogs will have multiple feeds, different categories, topics, that kind of thing.
That's right. So what you want to do is right-click on the RSS feed, and you want to just basically copy the link location.
You don't click. What happens if you click on it?
You click on it.
You get weird stuff.
You get weird stuff. In fact, there's the coding. There's the coding that actually creates. This is actually XML, which is Extensible Markup Language.
But if you see this and you go, well, wait a minute, that's the RSS is useless to me. Well, that's because you're looking at it in a browser.
You want to back up and you want to right-click and save that to just copy it. Now, let's go back into Thunderbird here for a second, and we're going to manage. We're basically going to add a feed. So let's. What I'm going to do is right-click over here on the left-hand pane.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Manage Subscriptions. Because think of it like a newspaper subscription.
Yeah.
Right?
So when there's new stuff, it'll come in automatically.
That's right. So I'm going to just put the feed URL in here. I'm going to paste it in because I copied it before.
That's that magic address. Okay.
And you can actually, of course, categorize everything.
Okay.
But I'm going to click on OK. Now what it's going to do is, as you see here, it's going out and it's grabbing all the latest feed because there's not much new there, I guess.
Right.
I'm going to click OK. And there it is. It's right there.
Spyware Warrior.
Spyware Warrior.
Now,
Now,
you're right. There was one feed.
there's only one new feed.
But as time goes by, there'll be new stuff in there all the time, and you'll know whether you've read it because if it's bold, you haven't read it. And that's great.
That's right. In fact, you can actually go to the category of where you've put all the feeds, and you can actually manage your subscriptions. One of the things is you can view settings for this account, and you can say check for new articles every 100 minutes, every hour, whatever you like. That sort of thing. You can also say check for new articles at startup. That's a very useful thing. So every time you turn on Thunderbird, it goes in and checks. Or you can do it manually. It says get mail here, but don't be fooled. It actually
because it's a mail program.
It's a mail program.
But it also gets new feeds.
Right.
In fact, it says that checking RSS feeds.
Right.
Now, if you're using a Mac, there is no Thunderbird on the Mac. I don't think. No. Or is there? Is there? However, we don't need it because Safari does the same thing.
Very nice job.
It's a nice job, yeah.
It really does. And in fact, I think what you'll see as future versions of Firefox come out.
Firefox does it, yeah.
And
there's a Sage plugin. It's a great plugin that lets you do all that reading, yeah.
Right. And I'm sure when IE7 comes out, there will be some sort of RSS support.
You bet.
For
everybody's doing it.
Everybody's doing it. And in fact, site developers. I mean, I'm building a new website, one of the spin-offs of Cyberwalker, and that's I have to do this. It's build an RSS.
The only thing that frustrates me is some newspapers don't because they want you to go there and look at the ads.
Right.
So the New York Times, there's just some newspapers that won't do RSS feeds. It frustrates the heck out of me.
But you know what? You can actually
you can make your own.
You can make your own, but you can also I don't know why web developers don't do this because you can build in ads into the feed itself directly.
Well, look at this; it looks just like the web page.
Exactly, looks exactly. And in fact, there is an IBM ad right here.
Right there.
So
come on, guys, wake up and smell the RSS. For more information about really simple syndication, that's what it stands for.
That's right.
Visit Andy's show notes at callforhelptv.com. And if you'd like Andy to explain something new or some piece of jargon you heard lately, there is a Thunderbird for Macintosh. Mikey says, thank you.
Thank you.
Send him an email.
Andy at callforhelptv.com.
That's right. And while you're drumming up ideas, we're going to take a little bit of a break. And we'll have a final wrap-up and a way you can be on the show when Call for Help continues. Stay right here. I use Safari mostly for my news reading, although there's a program on the Mac I like, Newsfire. And then the NewsGator is really good on Windows because that uses Outlook, and it puts them in as messages in Outlook. So that's.
Neat.
Do you use RSS feeds?
Yeah, I use NetNewsWire Lite, but I also use my Yahoo as well to read all my feeds.
Oh, yeah, because it'll show up on the homepage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a little clarifier for you on that fixed disk, fdisk command. The command is fdisk /mbr.
Oh, it is MBR.
But, yeah, but in the system console, in the recovery console, it's fix MBR.
That's why I'm confused.
For XP.
There's a fix MBR command, which probably just runs fdisk /mbr.
It probably does.
But basically what you want to do is rewrite the master boot record. So fix. So if you're doing it from DOS, fdisk /mbr.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it from the recovery console in Windows XP, fix MBR.
That's it.
That was where my confusion came from.
And
I have too much in my brain.
You do. I'm
much
amazed by some of the stuff
Pour
that
out.
you have.
The
some
sawdust
days.
is coming out like this, like the Tin Woodsman, or no, that was a scarecrow.
Scarecrow. Straw.
Straw coming out. So, well, that about does it for the show, but we would love to get you on if you have a question or comment or a suggestion. Of course, you can always email us, but best thing to do if you've got a question is go to the website, callforhelptv.com. Click the link on the left that says Ask a Question. I think it's still on the left.
Yes, it's
Have
still
they
on the
moved
left.
it? All right,
Nope.
still on the left. And the form is important to us because it tells us what operating system you're using, what time of day you're available, and how we can reach you. And without that, we really can't get you on the air. So please do fill out the form. We'd love to see you, especially if you're watching us in Australia or anywhere around the world. If you've got a problem with your personal confuser, I want to remind you,
Don't whine.
Don't moan.
don't yell.
Just
call for help. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.